Now, 2 weeks ago, we showed you how residents of West Sumatra, Indonesia, are still recovering from back-to-back earthquakes that struck last September. A big challenge is making life normal again for children, many of whom suffer from post-traumatic stress. But as SBS correspondent Oscar Surbakti reports, one Australian organization is helping them overcome their grief.
It's hard to tell, but many of these children are traumatised. They're lucky to have survived last year's twin earthquakes that killed more than 1,000 people across West Sumatra. At just 12 and 13 years of age, many of these students have already lived through other quakes, and the memories of the last disaster are still fresh.
Ever since the earthquake struck, our children have been traumatized. Homes were destroyed. Their school was destroyed. Everything was destroyed. These children were terrified.
Many families here are still living in the shells of their destroyed homes, waiting for the help that was promised to them by various levels of government. The Koto Tanga community has been determined to make life as normal as possible for the village's children after the quakes. Classes resumed soon after the disaster, even though much of the school was destroyed. Village leaders also invited Australian aid organisation Surf Aid International to help the children with their grief and to prepare them for future disasters. The 30-minute sessions, which also involve grief therapy, are held regularly throughout the school year and have been devised together with community leaders and psychologists. Surf Aid, which has been working in West Sumatra over the last decade, identified a need for mental support among children early on.
After the earthquake, we did some assessments and we found that there was high post-traumatic stress in various communities located in Padang. So after our initial assessments, we found that many of the children didn't want to go to school. They were afraid to leave their homes. They didn't want to leave their parents' side. They were having difficulty sleeping.
There's now growing interest from other villages for Surf Aid's psychosocial classes. And the program seems to be working. Since last October, a team of psychologists has found that stress and trauma levels are down, and they're set to fall even further. It's hoped that when the program ends in June, the villagers themselves will continue the training. These students now know what to do in the event of the next earthquake.
Move away from the windows. Run to an open field.
If you don't have time to run to a field, then duck under a table.
It's hoped that this valuable knowledge will help save their lives when the next disaster strikes. In Padang, Oscar Surbakti, World News Australia for CNN World View.